Okay guys, this is video 9.1 in Module 9. It's the first video of Module 9, and in this video I am going to demonstrate how to add that very complicated sum of terms that is arising on the left-hand side of the loan payment equation after you factor out the P. So hopefully you guys have factored out the P and you've gotten the right, the right sum of terms in there. And I'm going to show you how to add those terms up, and I've written the hints down on the spreadsheet that I also had written down in the module, and we're going to go through these hints one at a time. There is a little glitch, a little kind of twist that turns up on this in summing these terms. It's a little bit different from what happened in the grandparents problem, but overall it's the same. But I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any confusion about the hitch. Okay, so let's start out with hint number 1 right here. It says, hint number 1 says, in column A, let's generate all of our exponents, 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 359. Okay? So when we factored out that P, remember the appearance of the 0 is because the last term was a P, and if you factor that out, you're going to be left, you can think of being left with as the 1.00479167 raised to the 0 power. Okay? So we're going to put a 0 here. We know how to generate these consecutive terms pretty much in our sleep now. We're going to put a 0 in cell A1, and in cell A2 we're going to put equals A1 plus 1. We're going to add 1 to that, and we're going to leave the A1 without any dollar sign, so we can drag this down and just generate all the consecutive numbers. Okay, so I'm going to put my cursor in the right hand corner here, and I'm just going to drag. So I'm just going to do this really quickly. Just bear with me for a few seconds while I do this. Okay, so got to the end here. Oops, I need one more. Oh, right, because I started at 0. So I have to go 358, 359. Okay, so I just generated all of the exponents from 0 all the way down to 359. So this ends up in row 360 because I had the 0 in cell A1. Okay, all right. I'm going to go back up to the top of my spreadsheet. Use the scroll bar. Go back up to the top of my spreadsheet, and let's take a look at hint number 2. And in hint number 2, it says that in column B, I need to raise that base that was showing up, that 1.00479167. I need to raise that to all the exponents in column A. Now here's the trouble with using that decimal approximation and to do these calculations. That decimal approximation has been cut off. It's rounded off, and it actually ends after that 7 at the end. And it doesn't acknowledge or recognize that this is actually an infinite decimal. This decimal actually arose from doing this calculation that I'm highlighting right here. This decimal arose from adding the effective rate, that 0.0575 divided by 12, and adding that to the number 1. And when you create that calculation, when you do that calculation, you actually get a decimal that goes on forever. It goes on for infinity. And we need Excel to recognize those infinite numbers that come out. So in order to help us have Excel recognize those numbers, we're not going to use the cutoff decimal representation because that's cut off. It's not recognizing those infinite numbers. Instead, we are going to use the calculation that led to that. And if we use that calculation, Excel is going to have retained in its memory all of the infinite numbers that come after the decimal point. And we need Excel to recognize that. We need to have those numbers. Otherwise, we're going to have an error occur in our monthly mortgage payment. Okay? So right here in cell B1, I am going to put in equals, parentheses, 1 plus 0.0575 divided by 12, close the parentheses. Okay, and remember, that's just the calculation that gives that decimal, except now it's a calculation, so Excel has this to all of the decimal places that it has that actually exist. And I'm going to raise that. First one here is to the 0 power. That's just going to give us 1, obviously, because it's being raised to the 0 power. But we're going to hit return. Okay, let me just drag this down one more space so you can see that when we raise that calculation right here, there's the decimal. It's 1.00479167. And although it's getting cut off, because it's been calculated, Excel has in its memory all of the numbers that come after that 7. And we need all those numbers because otherwise we're going to get an error. Okay? So I'm going to put my cursor in here. Once again, I'm going to drag down to row 360. I'm going to do that real quick. Just, again, bear with me as I do that. Oops, went too far. Okay, so there are the numbers that we need. Those are the numbers that we need to add in column B. I'm going to head back up now to the top of the spreadsheet. Okay, I'm done with hints 1 and hints 2. And last thing left to do, this is just like in module 7, the grandparents equation. I need to add up all the numbers in column B. Okay, so that's easy enough to do. We know how to do that using the sum function. I'm just going to label sum here, and I'm going to use the sum function. Let me put it down here, equals sum, left parentheses. The sum's going to start right here in cell B1. I'm not going to drag down. I think I'm just going to type this in by hand. I know the syntax of the sum function. There's going to be a colon here, and I'm going to put in, I know that it goes down to row 360. We saw that. So I'm just going to type that in so I don't have to drag down and make you wait for those few seconds. Okay, but there's a sum that we're getting. We're getting 957.797619. And in fact, it's interesting. You should see that if I take that column and keep dragging it out, look at how the decimals keep coming out. Excel has every decimal in there. They're all inside the memory for Excel. Okay, and we need Excel to retain that information. So this is the sum that's going to simplify that horrible sum of terms. Please save this spreadsheet because we're not going to be able to use a calculator to finish solving this equation. We're actually going to need this feature that Excel has of retaining all of the decimal numbers after the decimal place. So we're going to be coming back to Excel. So hold on to the spreadsheet. We're going to finish the calculation on the spreadsheet. But if you have any questions on this, please make sure that you email me or come to an Elluminate session or just give me a call. And we'll end this right here.